that's kind of the reason why there is so much less Platinum Arena focused players than they're used to, and why the like arena focused clans are dying and doing a lot worse than they were a couple years ago. Not like any specific one, but all of the arena clans are doing much worse. They have much less activity and like less players and so on.
What is going on, everybody? Blazing here. Welcome back to another collab with myself and the one, the only, Sheeny. Sheeny, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. What's up, guys?
So, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. And, when it comes to Arena, especially, you can't look any further than to you, right? I think your whole channel, everything everyone knows you about is about Arena and Plat Arena, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess long before I did content, I was kind of known for like trying to min-max as like I didn't spend, but I guess nobody really knows about that anymore. It's some really old people that know about that. But I used to focus a lot on like for instance, when we got the faction wars, I completed many of the faction wars without any 6-star champions, and I did most of them with like 1 or 2 6-stars, and that kind of used to be what I was like focusing in the game back in the day, just trying to be efficient and trying to get ahead and not waste any resources. But nowadays, I guess it's mostly PvP.
Okay. Well, I do say I have seen you hit my defense a couple of times, and I don't know, man. That Rotos you got is pretty scary. I anytime we did go against each other one time in live arena, and I don't care whatever else you had. That Rotos was just a ban pick for me.
Yeah. I have kind of issue, like the last session I did in live arena, I was kind of thinking that I need to stop early picking Rotos because he's very good, but he's so easy to counter with UDK and Harima that it kind of feels not smart to first pick him anymore at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I've been feeling the same with Taras. I don't lean on the duo as much anymore, especially for live. It's not something I go through anymore. So let's talk about what's actually been going on over this week, right? We've had some discussion about boosting in Plat Arena, and the overall health of Arena. I mean, I don't know if you went for this Shadowkin event for Torment, but
no, I actually decided to skip on it, but I already do have Torment.
Okay. It feels like Arena is heading in a way that is not healthy, and I want to talk about especially Plat Arena, right? Because we know, again, you being in Mad, me being in SB, we can pretty much cherry pick who we go against on for arena fights during the reset time. And I want to talk about what can we do to kind of level off the playing field and make it so that players that are, not in the top, let's say 10 clans, actually have like a fighting chance to play somewhere. Do you have any suggestions or ideas of what could be done? What's the number one thing that could be done?
Well, there's a couple different things that I think could be done. I guess there's many others, but I guess this kind of gets a little bit to what we talked about last time. But I don't think, again, I kind of said this last time as well, that I don't think the clans really matter apart from like the top of the top Platinum Arena. But the issue kind of nowadays, apart from the clans and the game balance and that kind of stuff, I feel like there isn't enough incentive to play Platinum Arena anymore. And it used to be much more popular back in the days. There used to be many clans, much more clans than nowadays competing, and way more arena-focused players. And I mentioned this in some other conversations that we had lately, that a couple years ago, like 2 to 4 years ago, the bar to compete in Platinum Arena was much lower. Like, Trunda used to be the best snooker in the game, and you could compete with something like Arbiter, Madame Service, Trunda, and then one other pick. And that was basically one of the better offense teams. And even in defense, you could get away with many different types of stuff. But nowadays, there is full specific things that are way better than anything else. And that kind of deters a lot of people that maybe otherwise would be interested to compete in Platinum Arena. but it's not even possible, and they don't care about it anymore. And also, there isn't like really any good rewards or incentives to do it. But that's aside from like the game balance and those other things that Plarium could do. What do you think about that?
So the rewards, yeah, I mean, there is no incentive, right? Once you get that avatar, once you get that one trophy, some people are just happy. Like, some people do it for the enjoyment. I like pushing Plat for the thrill and the excitement. Like, will I get in? Will I not? How well can I place? It's definitely there. Definitely could be more done. I know I have players in my community that I've worked with that have some pretty solid accounts, but they can't. They get farmed out so quick. Again, mostly because they try to hit the top 100, and as soon as they hit the top 100, it's either Gods and Legends, Mad, SP, or some other clan out there that immediately attacks them because we have that can't hit each other kind of policy, right? So, what do you have to say?
I mean, nothing specifically about that, but I think first of all, I think like more important. I mean, that thing matters if you're in like top 10, but your defense matters more than your clan if you're gonna get hit in top 100. Like if you have Ukraine duo, then you're gonna get hit less, and if you have like full team of Epic, it doesn't matter if you're in Mad or IPR or any other clan, you're gonna get hit a lot. And like we went through this last time. I think the clan effect is very hyper top heavy, and it only matters at like top 20 and so on.
I'm going to disagree with that because the clan tags actually offer way more protection than what people think. Again, even if you don't have to have the best defense, but if you have something that can win you, let's say 50% of the time, and people see that, Mad, SP, Gods and Legends, ET tag, it does something to them mentally, whether it's like, nope, that account is out of reach. And I caught myself prior to being in SP kind of having that same mentality. So I've kind of gone through that. So maybe I'm wrong. Some of the community can let us know in the comments down below. But I still.
But by the way, to be clear, 50% win rate in defense would be insanely high. If you have 50% win rate, it either means that you're competing for like top 5, or you're probably not high enough in Platinum as you should be. Because if you do long enough push and you have 50% win rate, then you're probably going to win or be in like top 10 at least. So 50% win rate isn't very normal, to be honest.
Yeah, I just threw that as a number. It wasn't like, but I mean, again, it's one of those things where like the clan tag, especially now that we have the banners, it's going to make it a little more difficult for people to just kind of be like, do I really want to go? And I find myself doing that in live arena too, right? When I don't see a clan that I recognize, I'm kind of like, I got this guy. And it gets me in that mentality where I get a little too cocky. And when I see one coming up from Mad or from ET or another, again, one of the top clans, I'm kind of like, oh, great, I'm going to be in for a fight here. I need to bring my A game. You don't feel like that when you go like into live arena?
I understand why you might feel live arena, not classic arena.
Well, I'm using live arena as an example because that happens quite a bit there, and so I'm kind of interchange. The clan tags are kind of a both type of thing is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, well, live arena is a bit slower, so I kind of have time to think about that there. In classic arena, I don't even look at people's names or clans. I just quickly look if they are mad, and then I attack them. Like if they are not, and sometimes I'm trying to be very fast, and I also accidentally attack other mad people. But in live arena, I don't really. I mean, what points are you in live arena? Are we around similar ratings or?
I'm in 3,500 or almost.
Yeah, like for me, probably most people that I fight, I already know. Of course, there's a lot of people that I don't know, but I can pretty much tell from like if they have very empowered team or very team with a lot of 6-star blessings, or if they are people that I know. I pretty much like I know how hard the fight is gonna be, but I don't really make any judgments based on the clan. To be honest, I don't really pay attention to the clans. To be honest,
it doesn't get you mentally like, okay, I gotta be prepared because this guy has a really whale top account.
Well, okay,
Not
that
by the name, but just by the tag. Like we know people change clans, more than they change their clothes sometimes.
yeah,
Um,
I recognize the name, but not really clan. Like there might be some like I don't know, like I might see somebody like let's say an IPR account that is really strong, and I recognize it, and I know it's gonna be a hard fight. But then, to be honest, if I see some IPR account that I have no idea who it is, then I'm not really like that. That doesn't tell me anything. That it's just like that it is IPR clan. Like if I don't know the account, unless I see that he has like a lot of blessings and empower champions and so on.
okay.
And to be honest, like in live arena specifically, it comes down to what you pick and what they pick, and of course what champions you have. So the like I don't really. I think the clan deck makes a lot bigger difference in Platinum Arena than it does in live arena.
Okay. Well, no, what I was trying to convey there is just the mentality people have, like, and like I said, where when it comes to Plat Arena, there's certain clans that a lot of the lower clans or a lot of the lower level Plat pushers will not take on, right? Like I can look at my defense log for reset, and 90% of it is either going to be from ET, MAD, um, CHQ, IPR. That's literally all that gets hit. I get hit from anyone outside those clans. I get hit very minimal. I may have one, maybe two.
Yeah, to be honest, I think there's a lot of the top Platinum Arena players. They don't do live arena, and the other way around. So I meet many very like strong accounts in live arena that aren't even in any of the big clans, but they have like really strong accounts that would be better than average in MAD. And then a lot of the top MAD accounts they don't play live arena at all. So I feel like it's a little bit of different demographics that play those two like different PvP content.
So I'm actually glad that you brought that up because that's going to lead me into the next part of this thing where I kind of wish we had the same implementation for Plat Arena that we do for live, which is blind, right? We can't cherry pick who we go up against. We go into the queue, we get hit with whoever it is we have, and we have no say about it. Would something like that work in Plat Arena in your experience?
Well, I mean, it would work, but I mean, well, I guess depends how you define it. But I think you don't have to. It could be blind arena without forcing people to attack teams blindly. I feel like that would take a lot of the strategy and agency from the game, and I don't see Plarium ever doing that. But you could hide people's names, blessings, empowerment, clan tag, and player power, and just show their team, and that would basically be blind arena. I think that would be the best way to do it because then you can still counter specific teams and build different stuff and have strategies. Otherwise, it's gonna be like everybody is using Ukraine Duo in like blindly because that's the safest pick generally to use.
Okay. I definitely agree with that sentiment because you do make a valid point about not being able to counter certain things if you don't know which champions are going to be in, right? So if they bring in a UDK and I bring in my Rotos, then I'm in for that fight for quite a while if he brings all four champions or whatnot. So hiding, you're suggesting that we hide everything about the player. All you get to see is just the champions, bare boned, no blessings, no nothing. You think that
Yeah,
would be a better
yeah.
way to go about it?
If you don't hide the blessings and empowerment, then it basically does zero difference in like top 20 because people will be able to tell the player just based on those factors.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you don't show blessings, then it will maybe add a little bit more strategy and nuance because people could do something unexpected. And let's say that instead of having, like, let's say that you have for instance, if you have a team that might look on the slower side, some kind of slow and tanky team, and the enemy will probably expect that you have everybody on like pretty much polymorph and so on. And maybe you actually have a very fast Sifi and you're stacking temporal chains or something, and you're not doing something unexpected. I think that would be good, and it would like I said, add more strategy in the defense department. That's like everybody might not even know if they were not really playing Platinum Arena like a couple years ago. But back in those days, you would see a lot of different types of defense teams and offense teams. And because so many different types of defense teams were viable, you could pick and choose what you attacked a lot better than you can right now. And you would be able to cheese to very high levels in Platinum Arena without like top champions with very weird setups that like might even be unique to you or something that were not considered meta, but against the right teams, like maybe you couldn't fight against 95% of defense teams, but out of those 5% that you can attack with your offense teams, they could be top defense teams that top players use, and you will be able to cheat your way to very high placements without like the top champions or with some weird teams.
Okay. What else would be part that could liven up Plat Arena that can make it fair? And I don't know if you've been partaking in this No Dime December thing, but I've had to take a step back and kind of look at a lot of these accounts trying to be free to, or that are free to play, trying to compete, or the low spend. What could be done to players like that have a decent roster, a decent account, to kind of push in and not feel like their work is put in vain?
Well, it's going to be the same boring answer that we need to balance the game and we need to nerf stuff like Ukraine duo and then preferably some other things as well after that. But I don't think you can really make it so that free to play or like most people can compete anymore in PvP. I feel like that ship has kind of sailed, and unless Barium does like some massive rebalances and specifically nerf some champions, I don't see how that could even like happen anymore at this point.
Okay, so you mean I can't use my Ordinator down here and push Plat Arena with him?
Yeah, I guess that's not possible. Yeah.
Okay. So I know the Ukraine duo has always been a soft spot for a lot of people. And I feel lately I haven't seen them in defense as much, or not in defense, in attack as much. Because there's ways to counter what they do, right? Torment is a great example, as we talked about earlier.
Well, wait, you're talking about live arena now and not classic arena,
we're
right?
talking about classic arena.
Have you seen somebody use Stormin in classic arena offense?
Not offense. But he is a way to counter them. Not like, the best, but yes.
Yeah, like he's a way to counter it, but that's kind of the difference between classic arena and live arena, is that in classic arena how fast you can do the fights matters, and that's like the big issue with the Ukraine duo, that even if you would be able to counter them, the fights are going to be insanely slow compared to other stuff, so it's not worth doing 5-minute fight against Ukraine duo even if you know that you're going to win, and that's why nothing else like can really be considered. But in live arena you can use Stormin against Ukraine duo, and if they don't have any immunity in the team, you can probably do a 5-minute fight and win, or even have even be favorite for the fight in the right setup. But that doesn't work for classic arena.
Okay. I mean, we still have more counters to the duo now than we did 6 months, a year ago, right? We've got the Inquisitor Shamail with any through Blood Twin, as long as there's a UDK out there, right? You can get you can bypass that.
Well, to be fair, people have been using Shamail to counter Ukraine duo from the start. That has been one of the, like, I wouldn't say free to play friendly, but it has been the most free to play friendly way to counter him. And that's kind of the reason why UDK, for instance, is so popular, because at the start of the Ukraine duo meta, you didn't see UDK in like every team, but then after like a month, everybody was using it. And the reason for that was that people were running a lot of like Shamail, Lockout, Sifi, and Rotos, or variations of that. And basically, you would go first because of the Shamail passive and Taras passive, and then you would lock out the enemy team, and then you would abuse the Rotos passive and Sifi passive, so that when Rotos gets attacked by Taras A2, he doesn't get stunned, but he gets extra turns, so you're able to farm them kind of safely that way. And there was many variations to that people did with Lockout and Shamail. So that has been used a lot from the start. The only other thing that people really use against it, other than that and Ukraine duo, is like different kinds of setups where you're using a speed team with Arbiter and Charge It. I don't think you see that much other stuff. Like there's some people use bomb teams, but you need to know the enemy build, because if you don't, you're gonna lose the fight against like half of the players or most of the players, unless you know their builds. And if it's doable with bombs, then it can be a very fast fight. But I wouldn't even call that the counter, because that's not something that you can very blindly pick against Ukraine duo teams.
Okay. So for my defense, I run the Ukraine duo, Sifi UDK, and I'm gonna quickly just show you some of the defense logs that I had this week, and
Sure.
what I'm getting counted with, right? And this is why I feel like the Ukraine duo isn't such a big issue. We got Shuzhen here with Necret, Lockout, and Turvold. They're not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Turbold has been like also popular, but the Shuchen is kind of new thing that is also like he's seeing a lot of popularity in both live arena and classic arena.
We've got the monkey coming in, right? Um, I mean, you can't get any more free to play than that, right?
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
We've got on this one.
Wait, show the team again. It's triple void.
It's
Finish him!
yeah. It's again. We're talking top. When I'm playing top 50. But we are running Shuzhen, Warlord,
That's 7 void champions in that team and like the best possible ones. So I wouldn't call that super free to play friendly team.
I'm not saying that it's free to play friendly team, but we have some counters, right? We have, there are other champions that people are taking on these types of defenses without the duo.
Yeah, honestly, I would be kind of curious to see like the video clip of that Wukong team. I haven't seen people use that one specifically, and I don't know how consistent or fast it is. I have no idea because I haven't seen people using it.
We've got a couple more people here that are using the Sun Wukong in E3, right? Here we're talking, it is all full legendary champions, void legendaries, but they're not coming in. And the defenses I'm finding are a little more different than the duo, running up like that. I feel people have figured out enough counters where they're not really complaining that the duo is still a problem. We're running here, one of your clanmates is actually running +3 Duchess, UDK.
He doesn't have duo. He wishes he had duo. I'm sure if Fuchs had Ukraine duo, he would finish like top 10 or top 20 every week. So it would make a huge deal for him, to be fair. And he runs pretty good offense. I mean, his defense is the one that brings him down because he does pretty good job in offense.
But we're seeing in the top, 50, 100, they're not really. I mean, we're getting a Mortu over here, in the top, which again.
Wait, what rank that was? I'm not even sure what rank that was. What rank did you finish?
So I finished 97th on this one.
Because I think, I'm not like I can't recall out of the top of my head, but I think top 20 was something like 4.2k points. So that's like 200 points lower. I'm not sure. Like, of course, you're gonna see other stuff, but obviously, you're not gonna see teams like that at the top.
Right, but 6 months ago, a year ago, it was nothing but the Ukraine duo. No matter what crap gear you had, you were placing in the top 100. It was just because they were just so overpowered. But I feel like over time now, they're not leaned on as much. Again, I don't lean on myself as much as I used to in certain areas of the game, like live arena. But I feel like now there's just way more ways to counter them.
I feel like those offense teams, they have existed, except we have some new stuff with the Shuchen, but I feel like nothing really has changed in the meta for the past almost like a year at this point. Since like February, basically, the meta has been the same.
I'm not disagreeing that the meta has not been stale as hell, but I feel like when we're calling for this whole let's nerf these champions, I don't think the nerf is needed. I think there's definitely other ways. Like, again, UDK can be surpassed now if you're using, if Taras is on the same team, could be surpassed if you're using your Inquisitor Shemail with a Revive, right? So you take Taras out, he's no longer really much a problem. If UDK is not on the team, you bring in a Rhodos, and your Rhodos pretty much takes him on. So I feel like no matter which way you decide to go, there's always a viable way to take out the issue. And Wukong coming in has kind of changed the meta a little bit. Don't you think?
I think I see some people sometimes using Wukong in defense a bit, but I don't think I haven't seen any of the top accounts using Wukong in offense, really. I feel like he's kind of usable, but if you have a good account, there's better stuff to run than the init Wukong offense team.
Yeah,
It's still compared to like other like the better like of course you need to have very good account for this, but the good offense teams are gonna be a lot faster and more consistent. So I don't think it's that popular. I think the init and also the init comp might probably get nerfed at some point. It almost feels like a bug or some kind of weird like oversight in the Plarium coding. I don't know if that's even gonna last, but I wouldn't consider that a top team. That's kind of a weird team that some people can use, but I feel like most people that can even use that setup, they probably have better options, and it's a very niche thing that only like few people in the game actually end up using.
I feel like if we had this blind arena, especially for the Plat end, it'd make it a little more fun and exciting to actually push. Do you disagree with that?
No, I have been asking for it for a very long time, and I've also been asking the leaderboards and the other stuff, but I don't disagree with that. And to be clear, Mad has also like the even our clan leader wants blind arena, so it's not like Mad hasn't been asking for it.
Now, I know I watched your last video where you talked about, this last week you guys were challenging yourselves to attack each other, and it was kind of fun. And I feel like that's what it really should be for Plat Arena. I shouldn't be able to cherry pick who I would go up against, and I should be able to just kind of go in and see what the best of my account can do with what I currently have. I feel like it's just better. Now, can you just how did you find your Plat Arena reset this week when you had no limitations on who you could hit?
Well, like this thing was debated a lot because of the recent drama, but we have spoken about this before, but it's kind of anecdotal because we only did it once, and the last time we did it is a long time ago. But I did do better than average last week, so I think I got rank 77, and my account isn't the best in the current meta. So usually I finish around maybe like 150 or something nowadays. So but it's not really that big deal. I think the difference between like rank 50 and rank 150 is pretty. It can only be a couple wins, and it just if you get lucky, you can be anywhere in that range.
Right. But you enjoyed it a lot more, right? You enjoyed coming in and saying, "Okay, I have a free reign over any one of these guys I can pick," and you basically went through what you thought you could beat, as opposed to, being gated behind not hitting a particular person in your clan.
Well, honestly, I don't think it like for me personally. I guess it depends on people, but for me personally, it didn't really make any difference. I was still hitting the exact same teams that I would otherwise. It's just that I was hitting mad players, but normally, like I can't hit most of the teams in the meta. I can hit only the specific ones right now that you can counter with the Wukong and Unity strategy. If I hit other teams, the fights are gonna be like 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe even 4 to 5 minutes against Ukraine duo. So regardless of clan tags, I'm gonna do the exact same fights, and I feel like it's very like maybe a little bit of repetitive. I'm just looking for the exact same team and sniping them, and I'm not really able to reach the top anyway, so I'm maybe a bit less motivated to push really hard like I used to back in the day.
Okay. Now that you've currently have expected, or not have expected, but you've currently done this type of arena, do you feel like it would be a better change if you were able to just not have to worry about who you're hitting? Like if you were, if you could hit your clan members and say, hey, tough shit, you didn't have a good enough defense, right? Because there's some clan members I have that I could take on their defense no problem. And can't lie, I've mistakenly sometimes have hit them during Plat reset, not paying attention, and
Yeah, I have done the same. Yeah,
you kind of just look at those champions there and you're like, okay, cool, I can beat them, and then you don't even look at the left part to look at their clan tags most of the times. And do you think now that you were able to do this, and you said I think you've done this in the past again, you guys did this in the past?
yeah, we have done it.
Do you think like having a no bars free for all would be a little more enjoyable for you.
I don't think that in itself would make any difference to me, but I would want the blind arena specifically, so and the leaderboards, like one of them or both of them, so that people wouldn't be able to cheat anymore. So in that sense, I would want it, but it doesn't really make any difference to me, like in my pushes or like in the practice for me. It's more about stopping the cheating and this kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. Is there, what else do you think they could you would want to add to any of this conversation that we've had?
I mean, yeah, I guess like we didn't really talk about the leaderboards, but like I think it makes so many it makes sense for many different reasons, and it doesn't feel like it would be that big issue for Plarium to do. But even if they didn't do any other changes to PvP to like balance the game or anything else like that, or even like adding any rewards or incentives for players to push, but if they just did weekly leaderboard that after the reset you would be able to see the top, let's say 20 or 50 or even top 300 teams, you will be able to see their final rankings, and you will be able to see what their offense and defense logs. If Plarium did that, it would accomplish many different things. First of all, it would incentivize people to do arena a bit more, because you will be able to like see who won, and you will get some like clout, or like you will be able to celebrate with your clanmates. And maybe content creators could also make content about it, even the ones that don't normally focus on PvP. But then you could also, for instance, find teams that people use. You could get a better idea what's the current meta. If we talk about other games, like pretty much any other game where you do fights, let's say League of Legends, you will be able to see a lot of statistics about the teams that are used and what kind of builds the top players use and so on. And I think that kind of ability would add a lot of community aspect to PvP, that people would be able to copy or be influenced by other people's strategies and builds, and learn about it, and make content creators could make content about it. And then if we had that, it would also basically deter the boosting and cheating, and people wouldn't really. I think that nobody is boosting openly. People are only doing it like by hiding it. Nobody is making like videos showing on purpose that they are doing it. If we would have a weekly leaderboard, then on top of those other things, I feel like people would just not do it, because if they did, then it would be a lot easier to get caught, and it would just deter doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind the leaderboard. The only thing I would have to say is then, you have like a whole week to look at what everybody's running for their defense or their attack, and kind of see how you can beat it, which, the whole thing about pushing that last, 45 minutes to an hour is changing it up at the last minute and seeing the surprise of what you're going to get, right?
Honestly, I think that would be good, because that would mean that people would have to change their setups a bit and not use the exact same stuff every week, and it would add a lot of more strategy and like community aspect to the game, that it changes a bit every week and you have to be on your toes and think about things and so on. But right now I feel like it's been so stale for a very long time, and there's so high bar to compete in PvP. That's kind of the reason why there is so much less Platinum Arena focused players than they're used to, and why the like arena focused clans are dying and doing a lot worse than they were a couple years ago. Not like any specific one, but all of the arena clans are doing much worse. They have much less activity and like less players and so on.
Okay. Well, Shinny, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the channel and talking. It's always a pleasure to talk arena with you, man. I enjoy it. We're on total opposite sides of the spectrum, but when it comes to the love of the game, I don't think drama or anything else like that between clans to clans matters. I think if I meet you outside of here, you would definitely be a guy I'd want to hang out with, have a couple of drinks, and have a fun time. Is there anything you want to tell everybody out there before we let you go?
Not really. I mean, I think that there's a lot of more like discussions that we could have, and I would be interested to talk with other arena people about it as well. But like, I think the biggest issue isn't even like the meta or the like the different like cheating or different aspects of the game. The biggest issue is just that the activity in PvP is a lot less than it used to be. And if nothing else, Plarium, like, I'm not expecting that they will make any like new updates or changes to it, considering that we got live arena this year. But we would basically need some kind of rewards or more incentives to actually for people to do PvP, and that would be basically the only way to make it more active and revive it. But I think the leaderboard could be like a small part that could maybe attract a bit more players. But I think the main issue is just that nobody cares about arena anymore, and there's not really any point in like try harding it when you can't compete against the top accounts and the rewards are whatever, and it's just it's kind of done and over. And many of the accounts that could even push for platinum, they don't care about it. So
Okay. All right. Well, definitely. We might do a segment on the Knights of Teleria where I try to get a couple of top end players and have a healthy discussion about it.
sure.
Sheeny, I like to do shout outs on the channel. Do you have a shout out for me, sir?
Well, a shout out to Rats, who is mod in my Discord and somebody that I have been playing PvP in this game for a very long time.
All right. Guys, thank you very much for checking out the video. Make sure, if you already haven't, you go and you follow Sheeny over on YouTube. I will put his description, I will put the link in the description below. Sorry. And as always, if you're looking to push Plat Arena, I'll actually put both of our Discords in there. You can go and get some advice from him. You can come over to us. And maybe, who knows? We might liven it up a little more and get some more accounts pushing. As always, guys, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other. We'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.